My name's Nick Barley and I'm director of this amazing festival in Edinburgh. And one of the great things that I've been doing this year has been chairing the jury for the Man Booker International Prize. And I've been blogging and today vlogging about that experience. And I'm delighted that today with me I've got one of my fellow judges, the fantastic literary translator, Daniel Hahn. Hi Danny.
Hi Nick.
So we went on a journey together.
Yes, it was quite something. Reading a book a day for 4 months. It's 126?
126 books.
It's one of those numbers I feel like I'm going to go to the grave with, that number. 126 books and then choosing 13 and choosing 6 and then choosing 1, but kind of arguing and talking about every one of those 126 books. It was extraordinary privilege and challenge.
And as the only translator on the jury, you were always championing translation, but you never separated it from the act of reading. You never insisted that we look at translation as a separate matter. It was embedded in the writing.
That's right. I think that's important actually, because the prize itself recognises the translator. As you know, the prize money is shared between the writer and the translator, and it's for a translated book. But we're not judging the translation as a process, if you like. We're not looking at the translation and the original and trying to figure out what the relationship is between the two. What we're doing is we're trying to figure out which of these things that are now in English is the best. Which are the best 13, 6 or 1 book written in English. The fact that it may have its origins in Hebrew or in Spanish or in Polish or in Turkish tells us something about how it got there, but that's not really what we're judging.
No.
And it's also not, I think, how readers read. I think you read books translated from Spanish or Polish the same way you read books that were written in English. Your experience is the story and the voice and the characters and the texture and the pace and are the jokes funny and those kind of things.
And what became clear to me in the process of this was that the work of the translator is as creative an act as the original work in another language. So the translator is a writer. There's not an interpretation exercise. It's a creative writing exercise.
I think it's sort of a bit of both. I think the translator has to be a kind of strong interpretative reader, if you like. You know, Jessica Cohen, who translated the winning book, had to read David Grossman's novel and with a kind of interpretive, analytical, very perceptive and questioning kind of eye. And then she has to be able to write it. She has to use English, which is her writing language, to make something which both is his book and also isn't his book. It's partly her book because we know that if we'd given that book to another translator, they would have come up with something different, because every translator, as you say, is a writer and they notice different things and they use their language in different ways. But it's a funny kind of combination of being something which is a response to something else. It is an analytical, interpretative response to a book that does belong to someone else, while at the same time it has Jessica's fingerprint all over it as well.
Yeah, Jessica Cohen was of course the translator of David Grossman's A Horse Walks Into a Bar. Some of the other translators who cropped up a couple of times and who were remarkable along the way. One that I noticed a lot was Megan McDowell, who's based in the States but translates Latin American literature. What do we know about her?
So she's brilliant. She lives, I think, in Santiago, in fact. She lives in Chile. She's American. And she's been translating a few young, really interesting Latin American writers. There was one on the shortlist, she had a book on the shortlist, which was Fever Dream by Samantha Srebland. Extraordinary. One of the most disturbing things I have ever read in my life. She translated Mariana Enrique. She translated, I think she translated Lina Marijuana, who's at this festival
That's right.
Next week sometime.
Yeah.
And she's obviously, I mean, it's one of those things that I think you get the sense of from reading several books by the same translator. Reading one, you can get a sense of how good they are, but the moment you see how versatile they are, because actually for her to be a great translator, it isn't enough just for her to be able to do Samantha Srebland. She has to be able to do Samantha today and Mariana tomorrow and someone else the day after that.
Exactly.
She needs to have that versatility in the way she writes, in the different Englishes she uses.
Yeah,
and she's a lovely example of that.
I'll be looking out for books translated by Megan McDowell now, because I think her eye for good literature is extraordinary. So she's a great literary scout.
Absolutely.
For me now.
The fact that she has agreed to translate a book is already a good sign.
Yeah.
And you know you're going to get the best possible rendering of that book for you. When she writes a book for you in English, that you can't read from the original, you know that's going to be good.
Right.
But yes, absolutely, there is a kind of mark of quality that a translator like Margaret Jo Costa, who works in Spanish and Portuguese. I read Spanish and Portuguese, but I will often read her writers in English in preference, because
Yes.
I know that the fact that she's translated them is a sort of seal of not only her literary approval, but quality in terms of what we're going to get from her.
Absolutely. So, just to finish off, give us one other literary translator whose books I should look out for in the future.
Well, I should probably mention Deborah Smith, who's a very interesting case, because she's not only a brilliant translator, she's also a translator who is doing brilliant things kind of outside that. She won the Man Booker International last year with The Vegetarian. She translates from Korean, and she has an amazing literary eye, as well as being a very fine writer, which are the two things you need to be able to do. But she's also using her literary, her taste, her nous, as a publisher now. She set up earlier this year a house called Tilted Axis Press, which publishes first books at the beginning of this year. So she's now not only someone whose judgment you trust as a translator, because you know that if a book's been translated by her, then it's worth reading, but she's also scouting. She's going around mostly countries in Asia trying to find books that deserve to be published, and she's publishing them herself.
And she's publishing them herself, not always translating them herself. So she's become.
No, I don't think she's translated any of them yet. She's a publisher. The first two, there's one translated from Bangla, one from Thai, and one from Korean. Those were the first three.
Yeah.
Korean and not translated by her.
So Deborah Smith and Tilted Axis, definitely one to watch out for.
Absolutely.
Just to finish off, you yourself recently won a literary prize for your translation. At the
International Dublin Literary Award.
Yes, yeah. Now, you donated half of your prize money to create the new award for literary translation.
That's right. I wanted to set up a prize, something I've been thinking about for a while, and it's lovely to have the opportunity to do it, because suddenly I had a bit of money. A prize that recognises debut translators. It's a difficult profession to get into for various, probably obvious reasons. I wanted a prize that recognised the ones who are really, really good, as in fact was the case of Deborah's book that won last year. Was actually her first book, the first book she translated. But what I want to do with this new prize, which is kind of ongoing now, the submissions have started coming in, is recognise not only the original the debut translator, but also their editor. And so the prize pot, substantially smaller, symbolic prize pot, is split between the translator and their editor. So it's also recognising those editors who take a chance on the new translator, which is, it's easy not to. It's easy to go with the ones you already know, and also the editors who edit, who actually make these translations into a great finished thing.
Right.
When Han Kang and Deborah Smith won with A Vegetarian last year, won the International Booker last year, somewhere behind them was Max Porter, who was a great editor who not only acquired the book and Deborah's debut translation, but also made it into the thing that won.
Yeah.
So I think a prize that not only acknowledges these great people who are coming into the profession, but also the role of the editor in making that possible, I think is something I'm proud to be involved with.
Very exciting. And what's the name of the prize?
It's the TA First Translation Prize. It's run by the Translators Association, so
Right.
the TA.
TA First Translation
The TA
Prize.
First Translation Prize.
Yeah. Well, Daniel Hahn, it was an absolute pleasure to be a judge with you on the Man Booker
Likewise.
International Prize, and I look forward to seeing you around the festival. Thanks.
I'm not going anywhere.